What is going on, everybody? It's Mr. Uzi here, and in case you missed it, yesterday Apple held their Worldwide Developers Conference, and there are a couple things that they announced, some interesting, some less interesting, but today we're going to go over a quick rundown of what happened. So to kick things off, the next Mac OS is OS 10 El Capitan. Mírame. Mírame. Soy el Capitan ahora. Which is supposed to be a rock formation in Yosemite. So it's in Yosemite, but that was the last version of Mac OS, but it's not because it's new. So I guess they're just keeping with a similar naming scheme. So in OS 10, a lot of things look similar to that on Windows 8 or Windows 8.1. Things like snapping windows to the sides or left or next to each other to improve multitasking capabilities, and things like in Safari you can now detect which tab is playing audio, so that random website that has an ad that pops up 2 minutes onto you being on the website, you can actually go in and find which one it is and either pause it or just close out of that tab completely. Things like this are just useful in general, so I'm not really going to talk about it being, oh, they're copying Windows or oh, they're copying somebody else, because at this point everybody's copying everybody, so I'm glad they're copying the good stuff. Next up, for the iPad, along to go with the multitasking theme, we're finally getting multitasking on the iPad. I don't know how long I've waited for this. Almost every other tablet, namely Android ones, have had this multitasking feature. And actually, when Samsung came out with it the first time, everybody was saying, oh, we're never going to use that. Who wants to do that on their tablet? And here we go. Apple finally puts it on the iPad and makes iPads a little bit more relevant than they have in the past couple of months. Hopefully features like this will make their way to the iPhone 6 and 6 Plus due to their larger screen size, but we can only hope at this point. Continuing on with the mobile OS, Siri has also gotten an improvement. So now Siri will be able to read from context based on what you're doing to give you more relevant search information. So for instance, if you're looking at a movie and seeing if it's a good movie you want to see, and you say, Siri, where can I see this? It may say something like, it's playing at this theater, or this theater, it's playing in an hour, there's a showing at 7:30. Instead of having you to say, I want to see this movie, where is it playing? It takes a little bit of the guesswork out of it and makes it a little more streamlined, similar to how Google now has already started to do that. Again, I'm not going to bash each company for copying each other as long as they're copying the good stuff. Since we're still on the mobile train, I got a little bit scared when they mentioned the Apple Watch. One, because I thought they were going to update the Apple Watch with a new version of it, and I was afraid because it had only been out for a couple months, but they actually just announced Watch OS 2, which brings a lot of improvements. It doesn't bring third-party watch faces to it. Not quite, it's almost there. There are these things called complications, which essentially are just widgets that can feed you different information like battery life, time, and other stuff like that. Hopefully within, the next year or so, we'll have third-party watch faces. I don't even use an Apple Watch, and I want them to have third-party watch faces. Again, if you're going to copy stuff, copy the good stuff. So Watch OS 2 is there. I believe the beta is out already, along with the beta for iOS 9, which leads me into the next topic for the new iPhones, presumably maybe the 6S or something like that, or 6 Plus S. I'm not really sure what it's going to be called, but the great news about it is that with optimizations getting a lot better for these operating systems, older devices such as the iPhone 4S are still supported by iOS 9. So if you do have an older version of the iPhone, you can still upgrade to the newest version of iOS. Now, as far as stability and compatibility for apps and things of that nature, I'm not sure how well that's going to work considering how bad iOS 8 was optimized for the older generation iPhones, but I'm excited to see that it's getting more efficient and it can still run on this older hardware. And finally, we have the one more thing, the most exciting part. Usually we think it's over, but it's really not. And this time around, Drake was on stage. That wasn't the one more thing, but that was a interesting surprise considering how close he is to Jay-Z in Tidal. But Apple did release their Apple Music service, which is pretty much a compilation of all the other music services we have now, but Apple has kind of streamlined the process and I guess made it better in a way. It's more or less competing with Spotify, and it's kind of just killed off all the other ones. It still comes in at about $10 a month, but if you have a family plan, I believe it's $16.99 or $14.99, one of those, and you can have up to, I believe, 4 or 5 people on there, so you can save a little bit of money. They also haven't completely dropped the Beats branding. They do have Beats Radio, which is 24/7 curated music from the artists for your specific likes and tastes. So there's also that. And this is probably one of the more interesting parts of this news. Apple Music will not only launch on iOS devices, it will also be available for Android and Windows. What? No longer Apple saying we're going to keep it within our ecosystem. They're recognizing that a lot of people don't use iPhones. If you still want to get money from them, provide an app on the platform that they're using. That way they really have no choice. They are still able to use your service, but they can have whatever phone they like. And there's some other stuff like Apple's Swift coding language going open source and them rebranding Passbook to Apple Wallet and kind of merging it with Apple Pay. And they also went over statistics on how Apple Pay has grown, I believe, twofold, threefold since it's been released. So it's doing pretty well at this point. It's interesting that Android Wallet or Google Wallet became Android Pay and Apple's Passbook became Apple Wallet. So again, they're copying each other, but again, just copy the good stuff. So this about wraps it up. That's really the interesting stuff that I took from the WWDC event. I wasn't able to watch it live. I was more or less getting my information from live blogs. Apple still has that weird thing where they won't let non-Apple users watch their developer conference stuff. But aside from that, there's no free music this time. We're not getting a free album from U2, sadly. But that's pretty much what went down. If there's anything that I missed, leave a comment down below or ask me any questions that you have. Be sure to hit that like button if you found this information useful. If this is going to make you purchase any Apple products in the future, also hit that like button. And I guess I'll see you guys in the next video.